Hey, welcome back, my friends, to the Passive Pathway podcast. I'm your host, Nelson, aka Nelly, and as always, we're talking about the smart ways to earn, live, and build lasting freedom in today's digital economy. Now, today's episode is one of those rare ones that leave you sitting back thinking, wow, there's a whole new level to this game. We're talking about almost automated income. Yes, but not in the simple sense of Amazon or a single platform. Today we're talking about something much bigger, the business of e-commerce itself. How to build, fund, scale, and even exit a thriving online business. And what that process looks like when guided by someone who's been there, done it, and built it at the highest level. You see, platforms like Amazon, Shopify, or Walmart are just tools. The real engine behind success is the system, and our guest today knows how to build that system from the ground up. He mentors entrepreneurs who are ready, not just curious, to create real e-commerce businesses. We're talking mentorship, funding, structure, and eventually a full-blown acquisition where everyone wins. That's the Voltage way, and it's brilliant. Because let's face it, everyone loves the idea of making money online until they realize it actually takes a business brain and not just a Wi-Fi connection. Our special guest today is Neil Twa, CEO and co-founder of Voltage Holdings, an absolute leader in the e-commerce world. Neil has spent over 17 years building, scaling, and acquiring e-commerce brands. He doesn't just coach people, he mentors entrepreneurs who are serious about creating something lasting. His model is powerful. He helps individuals build a business from scratch, provides ongoing guidance and capital support, and once that business reaches profitability and stability, he acquires it, leaving the founder with success, equity, and a legacy. That's not just e-commerce, that's ecosystem commerce, and we're going to unpack every part of it today. Neil has built multiple 8-figure brands and co-authored the #1 best-selling book, Almost Automated Income, with FBA, with a foreword by none other than Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. He's been there, done it, built it, and now he's here to share the gold with all of us. So, in this episode, we're exploring what really means to build a modern e-commerce empire, from idea to acquisition. We'll talk about the mindset behind success, the partnership models that work, the importance of mentorship, and why a great business isn't built by luck, but by leadership. And yes, we'll still touch on automation because it's a key part of scaling smartly. But automation is only one branch on a much bigger tree. And I'll warn you now, this conversation goes deep. At one point, I actually found myself listening so hard that I forgot I was hosting. That's when you know it's that good. Alright, let's get into it. Here's my one-on-one Q&A session with the brilliant Neil Twa. We'll talk about how real e-commerce businesses are built, what separates hobbyists from serious entrepreneurs, and how mentorship, capital, and acquisition can turn a startup into a scalable success story. Let's dive in. Neil, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Nelly. It's an honor to be here, brother.
So, Neil, you've helped over 1,000 entrepreneurs achieve success on Amazon FBA. What do you think separates those who make it from those who struggle?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, as we think about e-commerce, Amazon is just one platform. It's one challenge, it's one opportunity, and a multitude of opportunities for online and e-commerce, which is really just a term that means electronic commerce across digital or physical products. I just chose the physical product world because it made a whole lot of sense for me, having come from the digital world. But when I look at the people who are successful versus those who are, what I would say, very successful in this journey versus the, mid-market of folks who got involved and those who quit, really the defining characteristic is something in the realm of the success mindset. It really gets down to, while they had challenges, while they had problems to solve, and many of them at the top end of their success were no different than those in the middle or the bottom. It was really got down to whether or not the people felt that they could be successful in it. Not just from the beginning idea that they could do it, but just the absolute unwavering faith and maybe even a little naivety and a combination of things that kind of just said, well, I'm going to do this anyways, even if somebody doesn't tell me I can or cannot, I'm going to do it anyways. The stubborn, tenacious pigheadedness,
I like that,
was what led to their success. Because at the end, I have led all of those people down the same process, path, support, coaching, software, training, etc. But why would one person be, an 8-figure earner and the other person not make, $8? And it really is a conundrum in this world, because it literally gets down to, a saying we have in the country: I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink.
Absolutely.
And if I let them all up to the same water, why are some people drinking it, and why are others barely touching it, and why are some people just walking away before they even try to drink it? And this is something that is a quagmire in my mind, because it's very difficult to discover really who that person ultimately is as they present themselves, as I talk to them, as I try to qualify them, even down to disc assessment profiles of personality and types. I've gotten a little better at finding the defining segment of successful people, and a little better at trying to sway away those who I think will ultimately not be successful. And I don't want them failing on their dime and my time, because that's not going to work for anybody.
True.
I have a 3-letter last name and a 1-word brand, and I don't want to get scoured across the internet and a scourge upon my life, right? So it gets down to ultimately trying to choose the right person who is on the path of their success mindset for business. While they may have had success in life or another business, or they're a high income, earner, they may be even a doctor or dentist in a practice or whatever. But they realize that there's something missing about the fluidity of e-commerce, the agility of it, the ability to make what I call almost automated income, which isn't exactly passive. I can explain the difference later, but to see that as a true opportunity for themselves and their family, buy that vision for themselves, regardless of anything I said in any process in that part. They get in hook, line, and sinker, and they're willing to do things that others are not willing to do. And that's really what it gets down to. They're willing to act imperfectly when others are looking for a perfect path, a guarantee. And if they don't see that through anything they're doing and any little obstacles that come into their road, that just keeps building their wall of justification, that they look and build this wall of justification until they can sit there and point at it and say, that's the failure, and never point it back and look at themselves and say, I'm not holding myself accountable for the things I did or did not do. I don't see that in my most successful people.
Interesting. But just before you actually meet a client,
Yes.
you have a proper
assessment.
assessment.
I actually make a lot of obstacles for them to actually get to me. And the ones that actually do get to me have gone through and listened and did what was required to get to me in the first place. And that's test number 1. Test number 2 is when they actually decide they want to chat with me. They have to go through an application process. And part of that is taking a DISC assessment. And then the DISC assessment, I can identify what part or pieces of that profile match my highest successful business builders. And if they dequalify certain components of them, I will always reach out regardless and text them personally, which always surprises them, and say, hey, it's me. It's not a bot. It really is. I saw your profile. I saw your application. I saw you made it to me. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Can I ask you a few questions about where you're at in your walk? And I will literally just text with them. And sometimes it ends up qualifying the situation in greater, and they're more excited to meet with me. And the show up rate becomes like 100%. Or it goes the other direction and they're like, I'm not really sure this is for me. Or I'll really say, if we thought about these things, you might want to take a little bit longer. So I'm not in that hopium course guru, got to have everybody $2,000 course, pump them in kind of mindset. It's never where I've been at. I'm an operator. My partner and I operate companies. We did it before. We got into the e-commerce. We did it in the way where we built companies and managed companies. And we've had very good success in the management of those companies and very large ones. And so I don't need the coursework. So the people who are listening on here, and I don't have a course and a program. Really, what I have is a mentorship and a discipling to build up builders who will have an opportunity to do it most successfully, because when they do, I partner with them. Part of my strategy of not having employees is to build up the right people from B to A players, and then offer them profit sharing incentives to help me run my companies or run the ones we acquire. From there, they have an opportunity to gain because they've already come with me 3, 5, even up to 10 years in experience, and they help me run these companies successfully. For me, that becomes almost automated income. My hours are not spent in the weeds and the details anymore. They're spent in the management, the fiduciary, and the strategic planning. And that's one of the ways I've been able to replicate this process out to now 13 companies that we have, under our direct ownership, and another 12 that our operation team directly runs and is completely responsible for the P&L on those companies. So I've been very strategic about who I choose to work with, and I've been very strategic who I will disciple in mentorship for their opportunity and my opportunity. Because the last piece of this is that my big, hairy, audacious goal, right? You ready for my evil capitalistic agenda? Here it comes. If they have a successful company, I want to acquire it. All right. Whoa. So if they run that company up with me, I am both the beginning and the acquisition. I have capitalization in the middle to help them supply necessary capital for growth from a number of relationships we've established for gaining capital with growth in this business, because it's a physical inventory business and it requires capitalization. Okay. And then when the exit comes, I have a first right of refusal to look at acquiring that company away from them. We got a private equity group. We just did a $7.5 million acquisition on a company we're now under control within that group, and we're looking for more. We've got two or three more on the line now that we're looking at. So again, beginning, middle, and end is how I position myself in a long-term relationship with the people I work with, so I don't work with everybody.
Neil, what I like about you is that you're very systematic, very professional, and I like the way there's a process, and that process is, you stick by that process, and that's the reason why you've been very successful. Because if you're very organized, and there is a, like you said, you have a start, you have a middle, and you have an end, and you know what you're heading for, and you know that the people that you would like to deal with. It's not like hanky panky Tom, Dick, and Harry. You know what you want. You're serious business, and your time is money. So that's really, really interesting, and that's really actually what I call very professional. And I'm sure the listeners would agree with me on that. And if like Neil said, he's not just looking at courses or anything. He's looking at people who are really serious in the e-commerce business, and he's not just looking for mentorship. He's looking for people who are really wanting to set up an e-commerce business. And of course, you'll explain later the difference between why it's not passive or not. But you definitely, when you look at the beginning and the middle and the end, the final process, of course, which as you said, is the acquisition. So that's something you need to be prepared for.
Acquisition is what I'm in it for, right? So as I get involved with those folks you're talking about, one of the things they have an opportunity to realize is that this isn't just a fly-by-night situation. They have an opportunity to either become an operator, grow up their business along with us, and in the end we both win when it exits, right? We both win because they could potentially have a cash out. They might come along as the operator for the double dip. And when that happens, I'm bringing an additional team, I'm bringing all the capitalization, I'm bringing the growth and additional channels, and we're giving them an opportunity to be an operator continually in that business past that growth. So if I know they're running it and we go to acquire it, I feel very confident that I know where that business came from, who's running it, and where it's going, so that I can see its upside potential.
Absolutely, because it's your baby. Actually, you've done it. You've gone through the whole process. Yeah,
When they get
yeah.
involved with me, I help them choose the products. I give them my
True.
software. I give them all my connections, my manufacturing people, my capital people. They work directly along us to build a company that I eventually want to own. So I want it
Hmm.
done the right way. So they don't need to know about e-commerce business. That's the beauty of the way we do this because our mentorship is to teach them the fundamentals of business first. Profit and loss, what's gross profit, how do you cash flow a business, why it's important to have 4 inventory turns a year, why we only select certain products within the
Hmm.
top 4% of all marketable products on the internet, including Amazon. And so we shoot for those top end products to build high profitability brands with a minimum of 20% net profit minimum. That means 200,000 minimum for every 1 million in revenue. And we
Wow.
do this very systematically in the process and software and methodology so that we can have very successful outcomes, right? And even one of those most recently, just in the last month, in about 2 weeks, he's going to close on a deal that he started with us. He was a golf course manager and a theologian and
Okay.
had never run an e-commerce company before. Started with us during the COVID timeframe, which was very difficult because it took him
Hmm.
8 months longer to go to market than it should have. But he raised that company up to an $18 million a year company and just sold it for 29 million in 5 years.
That's sweet
The
profit. That's wonderful.
scale, oh yeah, it was profitable.
Oh,
The
yeah.
scale by which these businesses grow is something larger in most people's mindset than they can comprehend because they can't see it directly. What I can see is the systems and the economy and the AI and the virality of these products and the growth mechanisms of marketing engines in these AI systems online everywhere now. They were there before, but they just get into hyperdrive about three
Yeah.
years ago to
AI has
reach product.
really become, yeah, big,
It's
big right
become
now.
really fast in the movement
Super
and
fast.
sellability of product and information. And it's using super intelligence to take all that data
Exactly.
and very easily define that you're selling this product and this 36 million people are searching for it a year. And its middle engine, its passive marketing engine that I use is to put all of that together for me and turn out customers because its entire intent is to take that 36 million people searching every year for my product and put as many of them in as front of my product as possible without me doing anything, and then define that audience, lock it in, and then send all the qualified people that will buy my product and convert to me. At that point,
Hmm.
it's my job to hang on when
I think
things
that's
go
the
really
passive part
fast.
there.
Well, what happens is we did a lot of work to set up a passive income stream on each
Hmm.
product. As each product goes in, needs defined, then the marketing engines take over. And now our job is really just to manage inventory and manage
Hmm.
capitalization. So we have blinky lights and dashboards of systems that sort of just tell us where product is in movement and how it's running through the system. That becomes relatively passive for each one of those products. It takes about five
Exactly.
to 10 hours for an operator to run one multi-seven figure business. So I have 4 operators running 12 companies because people can't quite understand how AI can force multiply you, how these marketing engines work at speeds that are almost incomprehensible,
True.
and what that actually means to you at a bottom line opportunity when everything you build in 5 years becomes a saleable asset. You're building an asset for exit.
True, true, true. And what the interesting part again here is that's really hitting me is since you've talked about the beginning, the mid, and the acquisition, the ending part, and since you're looking at, already you've got a set mindset that you're going to be acquiring this company, and
Yes,
since you've already, you've trained, you've done all the hard work, you've given them, it's like an open book, totally. You've really taken
it
them from
is.
A to B.
It really is.
Have you ever
I just
had the
need the right mindset
situation?
to fit into that.
Yeah, but have you ever had a situation where the person or the client or that person turned around and said, "Hey, I'm not going to sell it"?
Of course. If there's no obligation. A first right of refusal in this instance is a gentleman's agreement, not a contractual agreement that they sell to me. I don't force anybody into that, and I don't take any
Ah,
equity in their business when I'm mentoring them unless they decide they want to become a product partner. If they're a product partner, then my product partners actually have a passive income in the business as we become the majority owner and the operator, and they
well,
become the capital funding of that part of the business, at which
makes
point it
sense.
is more passive for them to show up every couple weeks and do a partner call for 30 minutes and help manage. But the other component of those builders, I don't take out any of their equity up front. I'm interested in taking their equity on the back end. And so there's a gentleman's agreement that says, give it to me first, off market, no broker fees is better for both of us. And if you're going to continue to stay involved in the business or you want to see the best opportunity, work with me directly and say to my group, we've got this relationship. I will help you make the most amount of money possible on your exit.
True. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Neil, your journey from IBM to building multi-million dollar e-commerce brands is remarkable. Absolutely. What moment made you decide to leave corporate life for good?
There's actually two things. The first one, the trigger that the catalyst, the second catalyst, let's call it. The first catalyst was different. The first catalyst was my mentor, who was my uncle, who was the guy that not Dave Ramsey, but the other dude, Kiyosaki would call my rich dad. You know, my poor dad, God bless him, hardworking, dropped out, went to the Navy, was an amazing guy, a mechanic. He's 83 years old, still kicking and loves his granddaughters and still got, full of piss and vinegar, and I love it. But he never really understood money. He understood how to make money and spend an hour. And we didn't have a lot in that, but we had enough. In my house, you didn't ask for more than. Money was a four-letter word that disrespected dad. If you asked above what you got, then you're basically saying dad cannot provide enough, so just don't. Like, don't do it. If you want more, you get more on your own somehow. So by the time I'm 12, I'm out hustling lawns in order to make some side cash. By the time I'm 16, I'm like getting my first little, waiter job just so I could, make money to borrow the car or do things that I needed to do, not to ask my parents for money. That was just, dumb, right? But my uncle was somebody who was a boat builder and grew up a business in San Diego, had a family of entrepreneurs, had become successful through that process, and just thought really differently. He was fascinating to listen to. In fact, the things he said to me in the past, I still hear today. And things that I'm dealing with today at the level I'm at now are things he was telling me before. I just didn't get it. It just didn't sink in because the information was in there, but it was not the right time to use it. And some of you listening to this might understand what I'm saying. The information sometimes we're given doesn't always kick in until we need it. And when we're going to need it is usually because we've risked something or done something that requires us to now leverage the knowledge of someone else because we've never been there before. That's what's very important about experience and wisdom. Okay. You don't get to wisdom without experience, guys. Sorry. That means you're going to fail up, down, left, and right. It's not all success. Okay. The second catalyst was at the last part of in my IBM career, where I was kind of coming to the point where I'm sort of done with this. If I'm going to go to the partner level at IBM, I really don't want to do the things that are required to do that. I'd already kind of reached that point of realizing, a friend who brought me into the company was a partner and gave me a shot at a job, and I was able to get the job. Very, grateful that he did that for that time that I needed to be there. But he also warned me, what you have to do as a partner is something you might not want to do. And I kind of didn't understand that until later on. I'm like, I don't think I want to do that anymore. And what happened around that table was I was sitting there, and just a moment of realization that something snapped in my head was like, this has to change. I'm listening to a conversation. At this point, I'm like 29, and the guy next to me is in his 50s, having a conversation with his family about how he missed his daughter's event. And it sounds cliche, but she was at a band concert or something, if I remember correctly, and he was not there to be a part of it. And I just heard that for the first time. I really heard it. It clicked. It was like I was ready to receive that information. And when I heard it, I'm like, I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to be that guy. Lovely man. Good for him. He's a wonderful person. But at the end of the day, that was no longer for me. I cannot be that. I'm not going to be 50-something-year-old telling my family I can't be around them. That's the catalyst that really said, I'm done. So by the time we got back in February, I got married in March to my wife, who's been with me for 18 years. Love her to death. We got 4 beautiful daughters because of her. And the end result is that I was done. So I told her when I got back and we got married, I was like, I'm going to be leaving IBM. And she's like, okay. Let's see what we need to do. Like, okay, that's cool. She's an RN, BSN by trade. She was working as a nurse in a hospital, and we moved to Tulsa, and she had a job there. And then what happened was IBM, just in the universe of whatever timing, luck, let's call it, or maybe God's providential divine, let's call it that. That's probably better. The IBM basically said, hey, we're moving your division to Argentina, or we're moving you out to another location, or if because of your relationship and the time you've had and how well you've done with the business, we're offering you early retirement.
Wow.
So that was it. I'm done. Took it and walked. It was just the right timing, a bit of luck, providential, most likely. And I had to make that jump. I could have used fear, and maybe I should have in times, because the next 5 years were very hard on our family. But I may have been easier to not have done this, although I like the outcome. But at that point, looking back, that was one of those things I just didn't know what I didn't know. And maybe if I had understood how difficult it was going to be in that first 5 to 7 years, I probably wouldn't have done it, looking at how hard it was. But that's that thing with the blind optimism that entrepreneurs and business owners have a lot of times, right? That blind optimism that just doesn't let them go and do things that others will be like, this is absolutely insane. And so I left. I burned the boats. I didn't burn the bridges, which was good. But I burned the boats. I mean, literally said, the boats are burned. I'm never going back to corporate America. I'm done from ever. Whatever it is that I have to do at this point, if I have to dig ditches, I'm never going back.
Two things are very important here. I think you took a very calculative risk, even though those risks, the result was, of course, there were difficult times, but you had the support of your wife and, of course, your beautiful children. That's very important.
It was. It is.
Yeah, and the other thing is that what I really like about you also is, I'm sure the audience or the listeners would also be would agree with me, is your value system. Which is very important. A value system is the value, understanding the value of money, and that's how your father, brought you up, and then you understood that. You just didn't take it for granted, and all those stepping blocks and understanding that the value of how that hard work would get you where you are is made you what you are today. And that's why that
it absolutely did, and I was
is
not alone in that. I needed those things to occur, and the part I kind of left out was that my uncle actually died in 2005 in a aircraft accident, an ultralight accident that killed him. And in that 2005 to 2007 timeframe, I was just like ready to make the change. I was like, I can't do this anymore. All the things he fed me, I no longer have him here to talk to me about these things. I kind of felt a little bit alone. I still, I couldn't talk to my father. I didn't have the right connections and network, and he would have been there to help me make some of those. In fact, he told me, go buy a franchise, which is kind of funny for me. He said, go get into a franchise, do something, pick something. And then one of the ones I almost bought into was a 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And now that it's so freaking huge, I probably would have had like 50 of those. But I didn't feel like that was the right thing for me. I wanted something different a little bit, and it wouldn't have been a bad route, but he was just like, do something, you need to do something. And what I really understand now was, if you take that step and I see you making that move, I will help you. And I didn't understand that till later. It took his death for me to recognize that when you help others in a servant leadership capacity, they will help you. It means you have to stop putting yourself first in everything, which means purpose and value must trump profits. Right?
Absolutely.
Purpose and value can eat profits. You get that ridiculously backwards, and only greed and vanity will power everything, and then pride will cause you to fall, literally.
Unfortunately, we live in such a world that greed has taken, a big chunk of that equation there. Many new sellers get overwhelmed. What's your advice for cutting through the noise and focusing on what really matters?
I think that if your purpose is to gain a opportunity and some freedoms in the way you do life or address any business, you have to start by thinking, what are those freedoms actually? What do they actually mean to me? Am I willing to sacrifice certain things to gain those freedoms? Can I believe that by doing that outcome will be my freedom? And that is a mindset shifting change first. That is like my moments of clarity in the past where I'm like, oh, wow, I can't do this anymore. I've heard something. I can no longer stop listening to this. I have to act on this. Act on it. You may not be perfect. It's not going to be guaranteed for any outcome other than you started the process and you're walking the process. Consider it like riding a bike again for the first time. You got training wheels on. I know it sounds embarrassing for adults to think that they have to put training wheels on a bike. But if you're going to be in a business for yourself and you've never done it before, you've been a W-2, you've been in another business, you've been under somebody else, and you sort of thought how they did something, when you're the full business owner, and that is your ultimate goal, to create a business which you own all ends of it for yourself, to gain the freedom opportunities that it will allow you to gain, then you're back to the bicycle with the training wheels on. Which means you have to be willing to accept information. You have to be willing to fall off of that bike a few times along the way, and you're going to have to learn how to balance the new role of being a business owner from top down, from finances to cash flow to taxes to all of it, to being the window washer. First guy in, last guy out, okay?
That's true.
When you start to see that thing, when you eventually see it, you'll be able to take your training wheels off. But I think a lot of people want their bike to be race car, right? They want the super bike. And that to them, that's the guarantee that this has to be their guaranteed path. And I will tell you, no matter what path you go on, whether you're going to start a franchise, go into real estate, or do e-commerce, it all starts with the realization that you're going to fail your way into success. And I think a lot of people don't want to hear that because it costs. It costs time. It hopefully doesn't cost relationships, and it will certainly cost you money. That Absolutely. Is a logical fallacy in any argument that businesses don't require money to run or grow. Like, don't buy into that, okay? That argument does not stand the test of a true business person. And if you come to the table with any of those misaligned expectations, you are setting yourself up for failure. What you need to understand is the time, energy, attention, and money required to grow, build, and put a business into a life-changing endeavor. Whether it takes you 3, 5, or 7 years to do it, it is something that you will do until you reach that success. If you start that process with that in mind, every speed bump, road bump, problem, or challenge you have along the way whether your wife dies accidentally and has to be resuscitated twice in the hospital, had that happen, or whether or not, she's here, yay, or you get to a point where a bad dealing in business gets you over leveraged. You can't see the forest through the trees. You don't realize your partners are taking money from investors you didn't know about. And then you have to have a bankruptcy, which resets the clock again. Been there, done that. Okay.
Oops.
So you don't get these guarantees that whatever thing you do, whoever you follow, whatever you start is going to have a guaranteed outcome. If you can wrap your head around that, you are actually starting to build less of a scarcity mindset and more of an abundance mindset, which is a key pillar in a successful mindset. Someone who does
materialization.
Yeah, it was super realization, right? And therefore, I was able to look at that and say, the bigger picture is not what just occurred with this bankruptcy. It's what I can do now, right? It's what I can do now in that experience that I did not do before. That's called wisdom. And with that wisdom, it allowed me to grow myself, grow the situation greater, put myself in positions where I was stronger in negotiations and situations where before I could see the writing on the wall, I could see the language, I could see a lot of things I couldn't see before. Clarity, right, was extremely important, which led me into opportunities that eventually have got me where I am now. Has everything been 100% successful since then? No, I mean, I've got products and brands that failed along the way. That's just the way it goes. But there are others that win. Law of averages. Right.
True. And interesting, when many a times the audience or the listeners, they always listen to me when I'm saying something. Today I'm listening because there's a lot of pearls of wisdom coming from you. And I'm sure the listeners also who are listening as well, they would agree with me with all the pearls of wisdom that you're providing, with all the info that you're providing. What I did grasp, there were certain key elements that I was looking at was adaptation, being able to adapt. And being able to change, being able to, when you adapt and change, you also need to understand there would be failures. Success can never come without failures. I mean, it's even podcasting. I'm sure there has been a lot of failures with, I've had certain incidents where I've had with interviews or with as being as a host. It's technical problems or there's Q&A problems. That this is part and parcel of my particular subject. And there are, in your business, in your e-commerce business, there are certain failures and then again the success, and then it's like an up down, like a crypto as well, like Bitcoin is going up and down. It's just not it's like a graph there.
Everything
so
it's a stock market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
the
you
game
have
we're
to
going to play. Yeah, the game we're going to play is the large law of large numbers. That's the one we're going to play, which says that I'm going to look at multiple ways to get things done. And eventually, based on the numbers of things I do in greater volume, I will have one or two of those things become successful. And when they do, I will continue to replicate those one or two things until their success becomes greater and greater.
Now, since you say that, mentorship has clearly been a big part of your success story. And who has mentored you and how do you pay that forward?
Well, again, my uncle was one of my greatest first mentors whose lifelong experiences. He was a Green Beret in the military. He, as I mentioned, he became a business shipbuilder who became a businessman and really understood the connections to all that was impressive. I have other friends now in relationships and business, including my partner, who I feel in many ways still mentors me, and in some ways I mentor him. Over the 12 years we've been working together in business, in the physical product world, Reed and I have been together. He's a co-author on the book for quite a long time and had a lot of fun building these companies. And there are still things I learn about him that I didn't even know, and things that he does and says that I learn from, and vice versa, which was amazing to have that relationship with him. My wife has been a great mentor. We walk 4 miles every day, as religiously as we can every day together. And in that conversation, she gives me Abigail-style wisdom to my John Adams. And I appreciate her insights and her thoughts and the way she thinks differently than me, because she's really the opposite of me, and just comes up with things that didn't really resonate with my brain, or that makes me think about things that I didn't, in my world didn't make sense. And that's why her and my partner's brains are a lot alike, and I'm very different. So I don't quite always come to the same. And I get to challenge them in other ways too, because sometimes they want to hold back, and I'm like, let's go. And they wouldn't go without me pushing and dragging them along.
But that's good, like a magnet, north and south.
Yeah, I'm pulling along. Let's go. And they're like, hold on. I'm like, no, let's go. I'm the guy that jumps off the bridge without a parachute on, right? And they've just finally caught up long enough to say, okay, I got the bag, let's go. And we'll build it on the way down. And that's pushed them out of their comfort zone while I've been pulled back on certain things with their, with their knowledge. I have other friends like Peter, who is extremely, good at what he has done and become very wealthy at what he's done. And he's a direct connection that I keep constant contact with in life and business and finance, who's got a wealth of knowledge in his brain that I like to tap into. And then I know Kevin Harrington has been a friend of mine since 2016, and that man knows a lot about the world of e-commerce and physical products. And
he's the one who's done your foreword, right, for the book?
He did the forward. Yeah, he's he was the former original Shark Tank. He's run a lot of brands in the as seen on TV space.
He's called Mr. Wonderful, right?
Nope, that's the other guy.
Oh, that's the other one.
He's the one that's currently on the show. Kevin was the guy that was one of the first sharks on the show. The guy that kicked
okay. Mm-hmm.
And getting that show actually off the ground. But he's so busy in his own businesses that he ended up walking away from the show because he just stays so busy. He was a part of the cellulose launch in that business that come to market big in the food drink side. And those guys, and ladies, they just really give me a breadth of conversation and knowledge that, they're around, I'm around when I need to talk about things or deal with things. And it's an important part of your 5 people that really lift you up to being something.
I'm sure. And I'm going to interrupt you there. I'm sure this is a very good thing that you've said, is because it's good to be around successful people because their vibes and their energy will also, come to you. So
yes, you are a byproduct of the best of the 5 people that you're around. If the 5 people that are around you are your commiserators, and it's by their language, their affect, their constant problems or things that they're dealing with, or the way they deal with those constant problems and wear them as victims in a scarcity mindset. Those are the 5 people that are going to affect your mindset every day. And I'll tell you what, it's hard enough to be an entrepreneur when in morning things are going great. By the afternoon, something falls apart or something goes wrong. You got to solve it. And it's a roller coaster ride, a situation. So you don't need all that other commiseration. What you need is people who lift you up, who are at a level that is above you,
big time,
that you don't necessarily want to strive to all components of what they're doing, but just by who they are and who they surround themselves with.
Exactly.
You're right. You level your frequency up. There is a resonant frequency. It's understood that you meet somebody and you realize it in the first 30 seconds or less. And my girls loving to call, are you vibing? Right? Are you vibing with this person?
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. The vibe. It's so important.
It is a literal thing. I think they've even measured this. I don't know the study or whatever. I'm sure the fact checkers can go find out. But there's a literal resonance of energy between you in 30 seconds or less. And this can even be felt on Zoom calls. I've experienced that too, right? Not just in person. Whether or not you really understand that anything that happens past that point is going to be positive or negative. It literally goes that fast.
And then it becomes a comfort zone. And then it becomes very comfortable because
zone.
Exactly.
You broaden the topics into things you wouldn't think they're comfortable with, and they're like,
exactly.
They lean back and like, oh man, I didn't know anybody else thought like that except for me.
Exactly.
And they was like, oh no, we're here, man, we're out here, and then that's when things really shift into interesting conversations.
True, and add to that is they say if you're around 5 people who are going to 5 millionaires, you're going to be the 6th one because again that attraction
success rubs off. Yeah,
absolutely. Well said. Those are again, like I said, pearls of wisdom, and that's the thing that I really like when I'm talking to people with such insight, with such intellect and such experience in such kind of industries. Be honest, Neil, if Amazon banned FBA tomorrow, what business would you build next before your coffee even got cold?
I have a SaaS tool already running. So it's already being built. I have multiple e-commerce companies that have multiple channels. If Amazon goes down, the company doesn't go down. If Amazon literally goes offline tomorrow, my business doesn't end. I have redundancies all over the place.
So backup plan should always be there.
It's a sales channel, not a business model. So I want to designate, when people hear the world of Amazon, as you and I were talking in the green room, I like to throw this out just a little bit because of all the platforms right now, except for maybe TikTok because of the whole acquisition, is it China, is it America, what the thing, that made a big
Exactly.
But even then, most people were rooting for the idea that it would become an American platform and stop with its nonsense of algos and hurting the young minds in our country. I think a lot of people really felt that way. I'm not alone in saying that, I think. But with Amazon, it seems to be a very love or hate. It's very bipolar. It's very disjointed. You get the YouTube gurus and hopium dealers over here screaming, marketing and Amazon sucks and you need to be in drop shipping and you need to be on Meta and blah, blah, blah. And they make everybody feel all this and there's myths. And, what happens is because it's so big, it's so opportunistic, it's 5 times larger on the US market than any other market. The average seller makes almost twice as much money a year on Amazon.com than any other marketplace. So it is a huge bed of opportunities. So a lot of people have tried it. When a lot of people have tried it, and a good portion of fail, of course, they're going to be yelling the most about that channel of sales, which is all it is. It does not make your company. A single sales channel is a failure point in your company. You must set up multiple channels, additional ways to drive revenue. You must mitigate risk. So, but I just like to play around with it because it's people are either love or hate it. Their inquiry is like, what is it about? All these myths. Like I heard that, they steal your products. Well, that was an insider who did that in the company. That's not a policy of Amazon. There's a lot of myths. There's no good products. Well, there's actually wrong. There's millions of good products you can make a lot of money on. Everybody stole all of them. They're all saturated. That's not true either. You can find saturated products, but there's plenty of good, unique opportunities to innovate products. Literally, I could spend the next 20 minutes just going through every myth because the people who are bringing up the myths want to sell you something else. I don't have anything to sell you. All I want to do is get you the truth. The truth is, it's an enormous opportunity to build and incubate a brand on the largest e-com platform in the United States. 49% of all Americans are. It's huge. Okay, it makes 6,000 sales a minute. If you want to sell, go to Amazon. Yeah, you start there. That is just the truth of the matter. It is going to cost you less money and heartache than running a media funnel, traffic, and all the knowledge it takes to do that, and dealing with Facebook and AdWords and all these other platforms.
Advertising and all
expertise. That quite honestly, I go to vertical people to get that knowledge, like David for ads, and then I'll go over here to John for Google Ads because they're specialists in it. Not one person can be specialized in each of that. So if a business owner thinks they can specialize in all of those things, they're very wrong. It's very naive. No. A single operator on a single platform can make, under focused intent, drive goals, metrics, and performance requirements, that into a very successful channel. Okay, we got companies that'll run to 6, 7, 8 figures, and then we start opening additional channels to holistically move that business out into the market, to reduce its risk, and to create the reward opportunity of a larger saleable asset. An asset worth a lot more in the end than at any time during the cash flow building phase. And that's what a lot of people need to understand about e-com companies. They are high demand. They're one of the top businesses being purchased right now outside of HVAC companies.
That's good to know knowledge. E-commerce businesses right now are very in high demand. And like Neil said, it's something that it's his baby. So definitely, if you were to go ahead and reach out with a mindset that, you might fail. Well, of course, if you do fail, success will come after that failure. But talking of which, that brings me to this question. What's the most expensive mistake you've ever made, Neil, in business? And what did it teach you about yourself?
Yeah, I would have to go back to the bankruptcy. That was probably one of the most expensive things I ever had to deal with. I had gotten really good at online buying. I had done mobile media ads before Facebook and AdWords and all these other things. I was doing push mobile ads on Android devices with spreadsheet uploads into third-party countries all around the world, uploading these spreadsheets and mobile dating apps and mobile lead gen apps and mobile apps, and actually did really well at that, made really great money, and was actually doing a brilliant job, honestly, at something I felt was really difficult. It's so much easier now, right? To go open a Facebook account and push a button and let their algo run it for you. Back then, it was all about direct response marketing. But I made the mistake of not seeing the forest through the trees. I saw what I thought, and I honestly still believe, is a billion-dollar company opportunity that got completely fumbled by the partner's greed. And with the invention that we had, and we were going to go into 6,000 homes with this, they were working on large contracts for power management. It was a technology for managing the power and elasticity of power and demand to reduce your costs of power during peak demand times. Okay. And so the brownouts and blackouts wouldn't happen. It would be a power management system. Fast forward, they're actually doing it at the level now that we thought it would happen before, but they fumbled it because they were taking investor monies and pocketing a lot of it and not actually finishing the product. And I discovered that there were really two books going on. One I was not privy to, with money that I wasn't being paid, with a lot of money that I got myself into, and some of my friends and family into, and basically got too leveraged. And when I had to become basically a whistleblower in that situation, indemnify myself and lawyer up, and then do a business bankruptcy was my only way out of that situation. And I just went too far into it. It's a very good learning lesson. It's the second time in my life I've had a 450 credit score. I have a over 800 credit score now. It doesn't really matter because it's just a number, but it's the first, I can tell you, if you're all worried about what's the worst that can happen in this world, I would say in my world, it's never having tried at all.
True. If you don't try, you will never know exactly what the result is actually.
But I
Or
know
what
people
will
hear
happen.
that really seriously, but at the same time, what they'll answer right back in their own cognitive dissonance is, I have a mortgage, I have a family, I have kids, I got cars, I have a job. It's really easy for you to say, but I have all of these things. Dude, I had
Don't
a
we all?
pregnant wife.
Don't we all?
Well, yeah, but there's risk levels. I need everybody to understand there are different risk levels. My tolerance for risk is not your tolerance for risk.
True.
Okay. Well, I had a pregnant wife on our fourth child at 8 months pregnant when they repoed the car with the 4 car seats out of it from our garage. Okay. And had
Wow.
to, own the bank account that was, once the bankruptcy was done, we paid for everything and we paid off what we could pay off. We had like less than $1,000 to our name to start over and no credit. And I had to pull back out of that situation. We had to sell the cars. They got what was left got repoed. We had to, move to a little house in the country that we had, paid $400 a month to my father-in-law just to live in it because he was gracious enough to allow us to do that, to get us back on our feet. Or we would have been in like a little apartment somewhere with all these kids trying to figure it out. Like, here's the thing though. We all look back on that fondly now, even my wife. Because we were close and we were together and we were fighting that. And I think a lot of people here feel disjointed, not from necessarily their risk level or willingness to do what I'm telling you is necessary. If you have to sell your car to get this going, sell your car. If you have to get out of the house and get out of the mortgage, do it. If you want the future you're actually after, what are you willing to do to see it accomplished? I know what I'm willing to do. I've been willing to risk it all. And that's the level of risk that I'm capable of understanding and mentally capable of dealing with. But there are people listening to this right now who might think they are those people, but are not even starting the process of what's required, okay, to risk it all for your opportunity success.
I agree with you.
I'm not telling people, just to make sure we're very clear, I'm not telling you to go out and leave your family and ditch your cars and,
No.
on your mortgage. Listen to what I'm saying. It's just, if you need time stretched to give the money necessary to do what's required to get your business off the ground, do it. If you need to sell that house and downsize so you have more money to save and more money coming in from whatever you're doing to let the business have time, do it. If you need to get rid of those fancy cars, do it. You can always buy them back later. I have a parking lot of $300,000 worth of fancy cars sitting outside right now. Doesn't really do me a hill of beans good. But I want the cars that we had. Great, because I can do that now. Didn't have that before. In fact, in just the last 5 years, I only bought the truck I actually wanted in the last 5 years, right? Because I'm willing to put off and delay gratification, and that's what you should actually hear me say. If
That's
you're really
the word I
risking
wanted to hear.
opportunities,
Delayed
you need the
gratification.
delayed gratification of all the things you're setting on right now that you don't own, that you're literally a debt slave to, and go build a company, okay, in which debt could be a part of the asset base in which you use to grow it, but that's not even required. We love to run debt-free as much as possible in our companies. And then put yourself and your family in a position that in the next 3 to 5 years, you can live, like the E-Myth says, like no one else can, because you were willing to risk everything in 3 to 5 years no one else would do.
Absolutely.
It is
Well said.
so freaking true. But I want people who are listening to this today to realize that comes with no guarantee. No guarantee. You have to accept that to even start the process of like, hey, honey, I think we need to downsize the house because there's a business I want to go after. Or, hey, honey, I don't think we need these cars anymore because this isn't going to work. Or, hey, honey, we need to get the kids out of this thing and do that. Or we need to get our finances in order and we need to play ball. My wife was instrumental, and this is where my number 2 rule in my house, outside of number 1, I'll tell you in a minute, was who you actually marry is the biggest decision you will actually make in your life. And if some of you are struggling right now in the conflict of your marriage life or relationship that does not allow you to do what's required to build your business, you're always going to struggle with that. My wife literally wrote a blank check to me, said, do whatever you want, I trust you. Right? And with that, I have done whatever is necessary to provide for my family, to do what is required to make this business work at whatever level, even the bankruptcy and situations she went along with. It wasn't fun, but she did it, and she stayed in the trenches with me because she knew. She wrote a blank check when we got married to let me do whatever was required, and then we were able to get together in our life after 18 years and now live the lifestyle by design that we always wanted.
Wonderful. And I think one very important factor there is, I think one word that I can really key highlight is called sacrifice. You put in a lot of sacrifice as well. And I think she also sacrificed.
Sacrifice is a big one. She was willing to sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Yep. Oh, she did. She absolutely did. She had to call me at times and say, hey, do I have money for the groceries? Do I have enough money in the bank account if I use the debit card? She had to call me. Those were humbling moments. We at the bankruptcy for a little bit, we had to go on food stamps for a little while to get things underway. That's humbling, dude. That is hard. That is an ego boosting, man killing, testosterone
True,
sucking thing.
true. And I think attach that with compromise. So she
Yeah.
was humbling. There was sacrifice for that success level, and there was a compromise factor as well, where you know what, we understand, and we understand each other because we want that kind of a lifestyle, and for that we need to do this. If we want to get from A to B, we need to do this. And
It
so
doesn't
that's
matter what you're
very
doing at this
important.
point. If you decide to get a franchise, if you decide to go whatever you're willing to do, you're going to have to sacrifice something to get there. And I think
Absolutely.
without the willingness, you are actually in a scarcity mindset.
True.
You're not
True.
in a mindset of abundance.
And I
You
think, Neil,
don't
many people
recognize-
have that mindset that,
Well, we've been culturally conditioned into it, dude. We're beaten down by it constantly.
yes, exactly. This is a
Constantly.
culture condition. True. That,
It really is. And it's also a familia. Because if I had stayed in the same mindset as my parents, God love them, I do, absolutely. But if I had stayed in their mindset, I would have ended up on a blue collar job somewhere. And that's not what I wanted to do. Now, it's not bad. I respect it. We need it. I love that. I just was not on that path. I knew I wasn't on that path. But I could have fallen into that because of others' expectations upon me.
And Neil, the funny part is we were not taught this in school or college or university.
Of course.
This kind.
No, I
we're not
dropped out of
taught this kind. These are secrets.
Take it with a
usually,
grain of
actually.
salt, man. I dropped out of college and I was public school, so take that for whatever it's worth. But I recognized that when the internet was there and there was opportunity, I went to school as a fallback plan on a music scholarship because I was going to go learn music, and then I realized I was going to end up in a van down by the river. That's not cool. Well, it's cool today, I guess, if I'd been an influencer. Back then, it wasn't cool. It was seen as shameful.
Yes.
And the internet came online, and I'm like, dude, I got to do something with the internet. I have to. I went to computer science for like 1 semester to learn about programming. They taught me about COBOL and Fortran, which is old school server engineering accounting programs. And I'm like, no, I want to know about the internet. I'm like, we don't have anything here. And I'm like, then I'm going to go get a job.
That reminds me of learning BASIC when I was learning basic programming.
Well, okay, fast forward. My girls do not want to go to college. They went on a college tour here in Springfield the other day, came back and said, absolutely, it's not for us. We're not going to go to college. Like, what is that? What is that? Like, girls are
I'm
all
with you
homeschooled.
on it. Right now, the mindset is absolutely, that's a different kind of, college is not the same that, we are the old school, like we would say.
100%, dude.
It's not
college
the
is
same.
not teaching you about the business
No.
of systems and changes of AI that are impacting jobs
Absolutely.
and opportunities right now. And you will be so far behind. Even a 2-year degree right now will take you so far behind at the speed at which business, corporate
Exactly.
jobs, all the stuff that you're thinking you would get into to avoid that is unavoidable now. It is
And I'm not
unavoidable.
saying that education and degrees is not important, but I'm saying the education
Well,
right
which
now.
education? Education is something we're talking about right now. And it has nothing to do with structured format or certifications. It has everything to do with your ability to believe that a product or service you can create has value in the market and can build a sustainable, growable business. You have to grasp that concept above
And I think
all
that comes
other
with real life experience as well. That's so
Well,
important.
it wasn't taught into me, dude. I had to fail forward in it. It
You
took
had to
me a
fail
lot
for
longer
it.
than some of the people I've trained because I had to get out of that mindset. I had to get out of the idea that by doing what I was doing was somehow greedy and unappreciative of where my parents and grandparents were at, that I am somehow better than them or whatever. And it is really just all about that mindset of beatdown and thought process that so many people have ingrained in their mind, that if I'm successful to do these great things, it doesn't mean I'm greedy and prideful and arrogant. It
No,
just
not
means
at
that
all.
I have
Not at all.
decided to walk a different path, different outcome. And yours may be educational track to go become a nurse or a doctor, which requires a certification. You can't become a
Absolutely.
lawyer without it. You can't do certain things without certifications. Trade schools are amazing now. Trade schools are going to take over in the next 3 to 5 years because all the corporate stuff is going away in many ways, and the leftover jobs that have real 5, 6, 7-figure opportunity are those who will learn a HVAC, electrical, skill-based trade, who then get into a business, take over the book of business, and become the business owner and grow that up. That's a huge opportunity for young men and even women right now to go into the trades in the next 3 to 5 years. You're going to be making 6 and 7 figures while other people are losing their jobs. You're going to be gaining
There you
momentum.
go.
There's opportunity. Businesses will be huge opportunity. Real estate and businesses are the 2 ways you get wealthy. So pick one to go after. If you pick a business, I preferred e-commerce because I got the digital fun of a virtual real estate platform of unlimited opportunity and a physical inventory I can actually touch that becomes a transferable asset. Out of fiat currency, I get a physical product that's worth 5 to 10 times what it is, and I can create the digital and physical connection in a brand as a saleable asset, as a media and following. And frankly, if you're not paying attention, every major company in the world produces a product. Every major successful person you can name
Absolutely.
has a product. If you don't have a product, you're missing out on what is the greatest generational wealth opportunity of the last 40 years. And I've been here since the internet started.
Wow, that's true. That's true. Wonderful. Neil, thank you so much. There's so much learning today. There's a lot of information that's been shared today. And I think if the listeners have been listening carefully and have been taking down notes, I'm sure they would understand. I mean, they would have put down all that. I mean, of course, it's a bit overwhelming, but Neil has really been generous with all that knowledge, and he shared it with us, and thank you so much for that, Neil, and thank you so much for your time. Is there something that you want to end basically or share with the listeners before we specifically end the podcast?
Yeah, real quick, two things. I know I've been long, and I appreciate that. You're very generous with your time, and everybody who's listening, who's still with us, I appreciate you greatly for sticking it out. I know I talk fast, so hopefully that wasn't a problem for everybody. But first one was, I believe we have 10 copies of my book to give away with a code for everybody that'll be in the show notes. So for anybody who wants a copy of that book,
yes,
you're welcome to grab 10 free copies of that, just as a gift for people to learn and understand the business model of e-commerce. If you choose to understand it, the book will teach you the business and strategy. The second thing is, and the most important, I think, at the end of the day here, your opportunity begins at the end of your excuses.
That's a very good
Stop
one.
making excuses. Go find an opportunity.
I think I need to learn that one. No, although I don't make excuses, I'm very positive. I'm in fact very hardworking, and I don't, I try less to complain. But it's very natural. It's very natural. But yes, there's scarcity mindset that has to be removed, and only then success comes. Of course, failure on the way, but then the success is later that pops up. And that's, of course, there's no excuse for hard work, because that's very important. Thank you so much once again, Neil. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the call. Appreciate it. What an absolutely powerful session that was. It's rare to find someone who not only understands the mechanics of e-commerce, but also the mindset and heart set behind it. Neil shared so much, from mentoring and capital support to the emotional intelligence it takes to handle success. We touched on family, humility, gratitude, energy levels, and what it truly means to build with purpose, not just profit. And I'll be honest, there were moments I just sat there absorbing every word. It was intense, it was real, and it reminded me exactly why the passive pathway exists. To showcase leaders who combine business brilliance with human connection. So here's the golden takeaway, my friends. Success in e-commerce or in any business isn't about chasing trends. It's about building systems, developing relationships, and aligning your work with who you are. Platforms like Amazon or Shopify might change, but the fundamentals don't. Mentorship, structure, strategy, and execution, those are timeless. And to Neil, if you're listening, thank you again for your generosity, for your insight, and for giving our listeners not just a roadmap, but a reason to believe that scalable success is possible with the right guidance, the right mindset, and the right mentor. So as we close episode 17, remember, true wealth isn't built in haste. It's built in harmony. If you're building something online, build it with intention. Build it with mentorship. Build it to last. This is Nelson, aka Nelly, reminding you once again, we don't chase the money. We let it find us.
Wake up slow, the coffee hot. Money moves while you are not. No more hustle, no more grind. Earn it smart and save some time. Plug it and tune out the noise. Watch your crypto make some noise. Click some streams and big dreams. Living light with passive themes. This the passive pathway. Freedom meets your payday. No boss, no clock, just Wi-Fi latte. We be chillin', we bob billin', no limits, just reelin'. Earn smart each day. On the passive pathway. Sunrise high, the world below. Cash still flows while you let go. No more stress, no more chase. Money works at its own pace. Set it up, then walk away. Watch the numbers grow each day. Hands are free, but pockets full. Passive life so beautiful. This for passive pathway. Freedom meets your payday. No boss, no clock, just Wi-Fi latte. We be chillin', we be billin', no limits, just women. Earn it smart each day. On the passive pathway. This the passive pathway. Freedom meets your payday. No boss, no clock, just Wi-Fi latte. We be chillin', we be billin', no limits, just win. Earn it smart each day.